get a little notification. Okay, so hopefully you guys are all okay, but we want to capture the information that's shared today for anybody who isn't able to attend. Plus, you all may want to go back and review some of this information. And so we're fortunate to have some experts in the area of employment and better business outcomes today. So I just wanted to take a moment to introduce really quick while we get started. So my name is Jennifer Wolf. I'm the Provider Training Coordinator at Lucas County Board of DD. And this morning we have with us Michelle Mcdougall and James Gears from Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, also known as OOD. Jim is a rehabilitation program specialist. Michelle is a vocational rehabilitation supervisor. So they'll be sharing some of the information about becoming a vendor with OOD. We also have David Topoleski. Did I say that right? He was the manager of the Business and Workforce Department with the Toledo Lucas County Public Library. He's gonna let us know about just the huge plethora of resources available to small business owners and all the opportunities for business development that can be found at the library. And then Kelly Elton works here at the board. She is a community inclusion coordinator. She just has a wealth of employment experience with people with disabilities and has prepared information about waiver services that can be provided by you all as providers and that you can bill.
All right, did we lose Jennifer? Okay, I'll get started. How's that sound? As she was saying, my name is Kelly Elton, and I'm the Community Inclusion Coordinator at the Lucas County Board of DD. I oversee children's and adult employment navigation. In my previous career, I was working with a provider, a large provider, so I have you guys' kind of side of the fence knowledge regarding provider services as well. Most recently, I was working with adolescents. I'm going to share my screen. But before I do that, I just want to make sure, Michelle, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure because I see someone else popped up. So I was like, wait. And then can everyone see my screen? Yep. Okay. Thanks, Michelle. So I'm going to first talk about the need, and I'm going to talk about some waiver services where we have some unmet needs here within the county board to best support our individuals, and hopefully to see if there's an opportunity for one of y'all to connect and recognize that that's a business niche that you would like to go forward with. And also that's why we have the library here with their business development, so that way we can not only help you identify that niche that you might want to go to, but also gain the business practices that you need so it would be beneficial to your business. I'll go over some employment definitions, and then as Jennifer said, we'll hear from OOD and the library, and then Jennifer will talk about supports and what next steps are. So the need is we have employment at first initiatives. We also have a variety of employment supports that we have a need for. Some of our individuals have not maybe been successful coming out of the pandemic at VOC-HABs, or maybe they still have some benchmarks that they haven't met regarding OOD. And we just want to look at what services could we offer to them, to how can we get them to step forward towards employment, because that's their desire. And also help provide you guys with business supports that would allow you to provide those services. So I'm going to talk about some service definitions. And I can't see you, so feel free to unmic if you have a question and just say it out, just because I'm in the screen share. First, just talk about what is competitive integrative employment. So we know through WIOA, it's talking about compensation minimum wage or above, receiving the same level of benefits as employees with or without disabilities at a location where the employee interacts with other individuals and presented with opportunities for advancement. So how can individuals obtain that? They can obtain it through waiver services and or through OOD. But I want to remind you that waiver services are the payer of last resort. So that's why we have this Employment at First initiative, and we're partnered with OOD. And it's actually regardless of someone's disability level. Employment First is all people with developmental disabilities are capable of community employment. And we truly believe with the right supports, because of the fact that through waiver services, we have individual employment supports available, and we have other opportunities to enhance with assistive technology and things like that, that we can support individuals gaining community employment. All right, so adult day services doesn't necessarily reflect employment, but is a waiver service, and I added on here. You know, one thing that can come from adult day services is if someone hasn't met benchmarks at OOD and maybe they have not been successful at vocab, you know, there's just showing attendance and showing improved skills of showing up every day, being, you know, meeting some of those benchmarks for OOD, that the attendance that might have had, those in adult day services can then progress obviously to vocab. And it doesn't mean that they have to meet certain benchmarks that they have. They can do it. We often have a lot of individuals doing a mixture of both, or even maybe doing a day program in addition to their community employment. So it's not one size fits all, and it's what meets the best needs of the individual. So vocation and habilitation services, as we know, are going to go away over the next year and turn into the new BEST program. But while we're in this state of still having vocab, you know, I just want to kind of identify some things that we're hoping to help enhance when we're in VH, is that, you know, the training for the person is to maintain their skills and work on new skills, developing a plan of instruction and support. So this is helping them develop task analysis, whether it, you know, they need the analysis written, video modeling, picture, helping them best understand how they complete tasks. And also, you know, the next priority is creating a plan. So some vocab providers have done this through visioning and then moved on. If you have any questions and you're currently a vocab provider about how to do this, we definitely can have an employment navigator come out and link up with you to do some visioning with the individuals. And so that way it could help you move into that plan. We cannot provide direct service to the individuals, but we can help you facilitate the visioning activities and into the creation of a plan. And so that's the supports we can offer you. If for some reason you don't know that the staff you have currently maybe doing that has those type of skill sets, we do have, you know, a lot of our employment navigators are rehab counselors, and they're able to do that. Right now, we do have an employment navigator assigned out at Lot, and he does help support some of their visioning activities and things like that. And that's something we provide here in employment navigation to you as a provider to help ease whatever burdens we can, knowing that you're in a DSP crisis. One thing that we have noticed across the board, and I just recently came to the board in March, is we do have a lack of group employment supports, and we do really have a need for more group employment support. So if this is something that you're interested in possibly looking into, we would love to have that conversation with you and provider supports to gain a better understanding of how you can provide a group employment supports and you know, what it takes. So if this is something you're interested in, let me know, and we'd be interested in having that discussion with you. The next thing I'm going to talk about is career planning. So career planning is a big umbrella under which these different activities fall. So usually the service is time limited, and as you can see for career discovery, it's situation observation and assessment is required, and then for employment self-employment plan, it is outcome based. But I'm going to go through some of these activities real quick just to highlight what our needs are, and not to say you couldn't pick one that wasn't our need. It's just really helping you develop your niche or helping you develop services that could best support our individuals, because we do have a lack in some of these services that we're able to offer to the individuals served in Lucas County, and we would really be open to having those discussions with you. Okay. So career exploration assists a person to interact with job holders and observe jobs and job tasks. So there's different types of activities. The key component of career exploration is how making sure it is extremely individualized and different based upon what you would provide in a VH setting. So we can work with you, the employment navigator can work with you on setting those goals and objectives if that's a service that you provide in waiver. But also to let you know, the waiver is the payer of last resort. So we also would have to work with you and the individual's team to process through OOD prior. And then if for some reason, OOD or another entity is not a good fit, we have to list that barrier in their plan to identify why. And with all of the different activities, I do have the rates listed. So if you want to take these rates back to your finance person, consider what you would be interested in, they're there for you, and Jennifer's going to mail this out. So benefits education analysis. Now this requires a special certification and currently is offered to all board eligible individuals without having access to waiver funding through Margaret. Also, there is access to this through OOD. So when they have an application in for OOD, the counselor can also, if the team feels necessary and stuff, this is a program provided under OOD. Career discovery is individualized and comprehensive process to help a job seeker who's interested in working in the community kind of reveal how their interest in activities that they do in their daily life might transcend to an employment. Okay, so again, waiver is payer of last resort for this, but here's some group. So meaning if the person is using their waiver to pay for this, we would have to note in their plan why OOD was not used and what barriers are to them accessing OOD. So here's a key component, and this is why the library is here, because not only can they help you with business practices, but they also can help individuals that maybe you support with employment and self-employment planning. So this is a service that offers the creation of a plan for a startup phase of self-employment that includes planning, and it involves the individual and other key people who will be instrumental in supporting them in becoming employed in competitive employment. So we can help them develop a self-employment plan through this service. We have some individuals who obviously have not met benchmarks for OOD and maybe have not been successful at vocab, but still desire employment and have an opportunity that maybe they have a skill set that they've already been selling stuff on their own or doing some sort of activities on their own that's profiting themselves. And this is how we can take it and turn it into self-employment. And so we currently do not have anyone in Lucas County providing this service. And this gives more insight into self-employment. And then here is the rates for it. We also have job development. And the only key component about job development is it can't be used by individuals on Path 4. The next initiative regarding self-employment is the self-employment launch. So this is a service that would traditionally tag on after the self-employment planning. And again, we can help you partner with the library or other agencies in helping this individual not only plan for their self-employment activities, but also launch their business. And here's the rates for this. And the next key we don't have is worksite accessibility. We don't have any providers currently providing worksite accessibility. And this is something we would really like to partner with a provider on to see if this is an opportunity that they would like to explore. And it's really just helping make sure there's reasonable accommodations for the job seeker to retain and enhance their employment and or their self-employment. And then we also have the rates. And I apologize, I'm speeding through this, but I will be available for questions. And then the last thing is a situation observation assessment. So this is for some of the individuals that maybe need more enhanced supports. The employment navigation, we do assessments and look at opportunities for individuals. But if we do have a situation, maybe it's more medical or as you may note there's behavior add-on rate. So maybe the individual is communicating in non-traditional ways that are becoming adverse to gaining employment. You know, we might need someone to help us seek out and better assess what the situation is. So this is an opportunity within the waiver service. And then here is the rates for it. Okay, and I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Does anyone have any questions regarding waiver services or what's currently available in Lucas County?
I'm interested in getting more information because you kind of sped through those.
Yep. We will send out the PowerPoint to you, and then Jennifer will have our contact information so we can sit down in one-to-one. Since it is time limited, I knew I would speed through them, but I definitely, if someone has a thought of connecting or wanting to reach out, we'd love to have you reach out to Jennifer, and Jennifer will connect us all so we can work on, you know, supporting any desires you have as providers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Sorry I disappeared on you all. I don't know what happened. I didn't even get a warning, but thank you. I was able to pop back on and catch your presentation. And this is all being recorded. And yes, like Kelly said, we'll be sending out the PowerPoints and handouts via email for follow-up. We know this is, you know, quick overview of a lot of information, but that's why we wanted to make sure to, you know, we'll also follow up with that. So we will go ahead and move on to Michelle and Jim and sharing about OOD. And so you guys take the floor.
I'm going to try to share my screen here. Yeah. Hopefully that works.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and talk first because the provider side of that, and then Michelle can talk about the services side. We have kind of different roles within the agency. I work in our provider and contract management unit. So we manage the process of the providers, and I'm assigned to the Northwest area. Michelle is one of our vocational rehabilitation supervisors in our Toledo office, and she actually supervises rehabilitation counselors that purchase services from providers. So I kind of have a role in setting up a provider, then Michelle has the role of actually purchasing those services on the behalf of individuals. So we do have a provider qualification rule. It's OAC 3304-2-53. We're currently in the process of revising that rule. It's open for, we haven't filed with census yet, but there will be some feedback. It's very similar to DODD's rule. A lot of our rule is going to be based off what they already currently have. We do have some requirements as far as qualifications for provider agencies, and we don't distinguish between a provider agency and an independent provider. I know DODD has two different types of providers. We just have providers as a whole. So providers for us have to be accredited by the Commission on Accreditation of Rehab Facilities, or CAR, or that an agency could be certified by DODD in the areas of career planning and individual employment supports. If someone is going to come to be a provider for us through that path, through that DODD path, you do have to be certified in those two areas for at least 12 months. So the organization itself, we've often got questioned, you know, if somebody splits off a provider and starts their own agency, does their previous work count? It counts only for the organization that's actually registered with DODD. The other thing is, if you do come to us through this pathway, the participants that you're able to serve would have to be county board eligible for services. If you come to us through another pathway, such as the CARF accreditation, then you can work with all our participants. We serve with people with all types of disabilities, and I'll let Michelle kind of talk a little bit about that. As far as our process, it is very similar to DODD's. We do have an electronic system that we enroll providers through. If you go to our website, and the web address is on there, there's a tab that says information for providers. And then if you scroll down a little bit, there's a section that says, what are you looking for? That first icon or first tile there says log into the provider management program. You would go in and do that. We use the same OHID that DODD uses. So if you already currently have, which if you're a DODD provider, you do, an OHID, you can log into that system using that, and then you can go ahead and submit an actual application. Our first application is called a provider registration. That's where you put in your demographic information, your contacts, your address, the services that you want to provide for us. And then you would go ahead and acknowledge some of our rules and requirements, and then go ahead and submit that application. What I always encourage providers to do is make sure that you do read our VR provider manual. Within that provider manual, it actually has our VR fee schedule. It's in a separate administrative rule. It's 3304-2-52, the Appendix A. That outlines the services that we purchase and how much we pay for those. Our services are a little bit different than DODD. We are solely focused on community integrated employment. So we're looking at getting people into the community, getting them hired by a business in the community, and making sure that they're successful in that. Our services include such things as job development or on-the-job supports, which we used to call job coaching. We can do community-based assessments, work incentive planning, and things like that. So we have a wide range of services that we can provide to individuals to support them and their journey to community integrated employment. Once you submit that actual application, OD has 30 days to review that and approve that. If we have any questions, we will go ahead and email you back and say, you know, we need some additional information, or can you provide some clarification on what you're asking to provide, or things like that. Some of our services do have additional requirements to that, as far as submitting plans or curriculums and things like that. That's all contained within that BRP schedule, so that you can kind of see what you would need to submit as part of that. The PMP system itself should tell you that when you need an additional form or something like that to submit as well. And if you do have any questions during this process, we do have a mailbox, pcmu@ood.ohio.gov that you can go ahead and email. Once we've gone and reviewed your application and approved it, we do have some additional training that we provide to all providers, just so that you know what our billing process is and things like that. We're a little bit different than DODD. We're transitioning to an all electronic portal for billing here in the next couple weeks. It actually starts next week and will take us to the end of the year as we roll it out throughout the state. We will assign a VR liaison supervisor to you, and that's someone at the local level, the local office. That'll be your kind of point of contact for any questions you might have. What we encourage you really to do is look at the VR provider manual first to see if the answer is in there. If you can't find that, then you can go ahead and contact your VR liaison supervisor, and if necessary, central office PCMU mailbox if you can't get an answer from the local office. As far as marketing materials, we always get the question is like, okay, I signed up to be a provider for OD. Now, how do I get the people assigned to me? The way we do that is, as I say, Michelle supervises vocational rehabilitation counselors that have those cases. They write plans and decide what services are going to be included in that plan in conjunction with the individual. Then they do what we call an authorization, and that authorization is basically a purchase order that we are saying, okay, we're purchasing this service. So you go back to the BRP schedule, look at what's required as that service, how much we pay for that. You provide that, report it on some report templates. We have report templates on our website on that provider information page. You submit that report back to us, and then we go ahead and pay you. As far as marketing information and getting participants assigned to you, you probably have a pool of potential participants already, and even individuals that you're currently working with. If you want to refer those, we do have informed choice where we would sit down, the counselor would sit down and talk to them about, you know, who would be the best option for them or who could provide the services that they might need. But But as far as marketing your individual agency to OOD, we would ask that you go through the rehabilitation supervisors. You can come in during one of their team meetings, and then you have all the counselors kind of in one place. We ask providers not to try to contact individual counselors to kind of gather referrals and things like that. It's just not an efficient process, and it kind of takes the counselors away from what their primary role is, to be working with those individuals. And the last thing I want to talk about is we do have some services that do have some specific qualification requirements to that. So for supported employment job development, we do require that the job developer be a certified employment support professional, a CSP. We do have some other things that we do accept as part of that. If someone's a CRC, has a master's in rehab counseling and is a CRC, we can accept that for supported employment job development. For work incentive planning, we require either the CWIC, the Certified Work Incentive Coordinator, or a work incentive planner. So that's a certification through either Virginia Commonwealth or Cornell University. So any additional requirements we require for services would be in that VRFE schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Michelle, who can talk more about the participant side and what that looks like working with one of our counselors.
Thank you, Jim, for that wonderful overview. So as Jennifer introduced me, I am Michelle Mcdougall, supervisor out of our Toledo office. Jim, are you going to stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, I just got to find out how to do it. There we go.
All right, thank you. I'm a supervisor at the Toledo office. There are, including myself, 4 supervisors in the Toledo office. And just as a side note, before coming to OOD, I think it's been 6.5 years now, I was employed by Lot Industries and also the board. I was coordinator for the board for the Howland Road facility, and then a couple months with Employment Connections, which is no longer around. So a little bit familiar with what the board does. So I want to talk about our services, how that looks for individuals, and where you specifically can come into play. So if someone is wanting to apply for our services, there's a variety of ways they can apply. It's very easy. We do get a lot of referrals from SASs or SSAs, employment navigators. So we take an application. The next step is for that counselor to determine eligibility. There is a process for that. A person has to have a disability and have functional limitations tied to that disability. You basically need our services and be able to benefit from our services. And I'm not going to go into a lot of that because it took a long time on that. After someone is eligible, what happens next is a plan for employment, an IPE, individualized plan for employment. Basically, this is the individual working with their counselor to determine what their needs are. Kelly talked a lot about needs. We base everything on need. So there could be assessments done before that to determine what the needs are, what the person is lacking that we could do to help them prepare for a lot of the same conversation that Kelly did. But basically on our plan for employment, what that's going to detail is the job goal for the individual. And again, someone might come with a lot of experience or some assessments in a certain area. Maybe they volunteered at an animal shelter. Some other people come to us and they have no idea what they want to do. We lead up to that plan for employment. So once we choose that job goal, working with the individual, the next step is to determine what services are necessary to get to that job goal and help the individual be successful. And this is where the vendors come into play. As Jim said, we do informed choice. We are mandated to do that. And part of that informed choice may look like, okay, Susie Smith, you know, we've agreed that your job goal is going to be animal caretaker, okay? To help you
Uh-oh, it isn't me this time, right? My goodness, we're just having tech difficulties. All
The
right.
top square.
What's that, Michelle?
I was saying that's that top square. You were in the
Yeah.
top square when you
Oh,
went.
yeah. Okay, well,
You know, I don't know, I can kind of fill in some of the blanks. It's been a long time since
Sure.
I was a counselor. But as Michelle was kind of talking about, some of our services are that career planning where we're looking at identifying that. So that's an interactive process between the counselor and the participant. Once we actually write that plan, then we actually start purchasing those services. But it's, I'm hoping Michelle will come back here soon. But it's like, when we actually work with a provider and a participant, like say it is a community effort, the participants have a lot of direction in that. We are looking for the community integrated employment. As far as some of the services, Michelle was talking about the career planning. We have work incentive planning, which is Kelly kind of talked about. The board is doing that as well. The job development, our job development is actually working with people to get resumes and things like that. Not sure exactly what else Michelle was wanting to talk about. If you do have information or questions about who might be eligible for our services, we do have some resources on our website, ood.ohio.gov, that you can go to and kind of find out about. There's some information for participants, providers, and things like that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. Maybe we can, I don't see anything. Kelly, do you have anything?
So I guess the key component is why we have OOD here is we just want you guys to recognize, because some people don't, and even at times leadership at the board didn't, that you don't have to pay the expense of the CARFE accreditation. You only, the criteria is having the 1 year of career planning and the other things that Jim mentioned. So that way, I know a lot of providers think, oh, we have to pay for CARFE accreditation, which is hugely expensive. And that is not the case. So that's why we reviewed the waiver services, and providing some of those services for 12 months then can lead to this. And it's just an open opportunity for your business to grow in other means and kind of expand. And, you know, our whole goal is to keep providers in business. That's, you know, we obviously, without you guys, we can't help individuals find employment. So, and so that's kind of the connection piece that we're trying to make.
Awesome. Oh, it looks like Michelle got back on. So Michelle, sorry about that. Glad you're back.
Thank you. I was actually trying to call in. Gotta love technology, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally out. Okay. So what I was saying, let me pick back up. What is the last thing that anyone heard?
You were talking about free choice of provider and or informed choice, and then sitting at the table.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So once that plan is written, and what the counselors will do is give choice of which vendor, which provider they would like to work with. And what would be helpful in this type of situation, if they're familiar with the board, if they're coming from the board, they're going to be familiar. If they're familiar with you, like Jim said, we can have you come to a team meeting and introduce you. But if, as part of informed choice, we have to let them know all the providers that are available to them. And what they might say is, you know what, I know this vendor, I'd like to work with them. And that's fine. So some of the things that a job seeker, an individual may require is, I think I was at this part, job seeking skills training, putting together a resume, redoing a resume if they already have one and that's needed, interviewing skills, how to fill out an application. All of those things are services that we start with in the beginning. And if someone comes to us and they said, oh, I have a resume, we're still going to want to look at it. Maybe do some mock interviews with them, because maybe they had that before, maybe they didn't, but that's the starting point. So that is a service that you could potentially offer. Job development, that is where you would have someone going out in the community with the individual, searching for jobs online, possibly going to interviews with them. That's the actual job search. And then like Jim said before, also on the job support, which is job coaching, many individuals that come from an employment first or from a board type setting, they require that job coaching. Not everyone though. And we look at it, everything is individual need. If they need that, we will provide it. If they don't, it's not just everyone gets every service. It's very individually based. One thing that I do want to mention is that if someone is considered supported employment on our end, and basically that means that we look at and see they have a greater need than someone else. It's people with what we consider most significantly needs. And we look at that by functional limitations. It's also competitive integrated employment has typically not occurred in the past, or competitive integrated has been interrupted. So some of those folks coming from the DD system, we will code them, consider them supported employment. And basically what that means is during that job search, you as the vendor are going to be required to meet with them twice a week. If they're not considered supported employment, you would at least need to meet with them once a week. So there is a difference there. But at least if you are a provider for us, you've gone through all that, what Jim mentioned, during informed choice, they pick you as a provider. The need is determined that they need job seeking skills training, which almost everyone does. You're going to help them find a job. You're going to be meeting with them at least once a week, possibly twice. You may get a call and they say, I have an interview next Wednesday at 9. I need you to go with me. So just be prepared that whatever that individual needs, again, it could be twice a week. If you're going to be providing job coaching, some people get jobs for shifts. Other people get jobs second shift. Sometimes it's on the weekend, but if you're a provider of on the job supports, job coaching, and that person chooses you, you would have to have staff that would need to be there when they needed that interview, when they needed that job coaching. We do offer, like Jim had talked about, some WIP services. So there's a lot that we can offer, but again, it's individually based. Many of the people that we see coming from board referrals are supported employment. So you could probably expect to, if you're chosen as the vendor, meet with them twice a week. If they get a job and you're signed up to do job coaching on the job supports, provide that for them. You can be a vendor for job seeking skills training, job development, but not job coaching. The only problem with that is when we're given informed choice, let's say someone chose you, we would say that, you can work with that provider, but they don't provide job coaching. So at that point, when you get a job, you're going to have to pick a new provider. And that sometimes a lot of people want to stay with just one vendor. So just something to keep in mind for that. I know I went through everything very quickly, and I'm sorry I got kicked off. Our system is quite different from DODD. Does anyone have any questions? And Kelly, you are frozen from what I see.
Oh, I am.
Pull up the chat. Are there any questions for me?
I don't see any right now. Thank you so much, Michelle. And thanks for hopping back on. Yeah, so we know that this is kind of like drinking from a fire hydrant or something. This is a lot of information really fast. This is supposed to, kind of whet your appetite, to continue using the drinking analogy. And so we plan on offering follow-up information for you. So I'll be reaching out after this presentation to, kind of connect with you all, share the information, and then we want to, any of you that are interested in moving forward, we will walk with you on that and connect you. But David, you are up next. Could you share about what you've prepared with the business resources? What can you guys offer at the library to help these folks with their employment kind of wishes and dreams and individual employment services?
Of course. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Jennifer and Kelly for having me. They're both a pleasure to work with and provide so many outstanding resources. With the public library, our refreshments are all free. Dare I say, an open bar. But in the liquid analogy, we have so many resources throughout the community to serve you. And so think of the public library as the people's university or the Center for Lifelong Learning. So I hope today to be able to reach you personally and the things that matter to you as practitioners, as business owners, as nonprofit providers, as individuals in your community, and having the passion that you have to make a difference. And then also the things that might help your colleagues out there and friends and relatives, people like that. The nice thing is when you're serving from literally birth to seniorhood, we have resources for everyone. And I know for today, it's definitely that practitioner hat that you're wearing, but think about the ways that maybe you want to access something like consumer reports for free on your own time, or help people find resources that will help them just maybe sometimes get away from it all. We are certainly a recreational provider as well. So I think what I really liked about what Jennifer was saying is that this is just a small overview. I mean, we have so many resources at the public library to provide. So I'm going to keep this fairly simple, make sure that anything that has to do with contacts or URL links will be provided to you after the session. And I'll try to keep it within about 5 or 10 minutes here so that we can stay on time. Of course, you're always welcome to contact me and you'll have those resources with you. As Kelly said in the beginning, I'm David Topoleski. I'm the Business and Workforce Department Manager at the main library. And so I'll actually be reporting on Monday as the new branch manager at the Kent Branch Library on Collywood and Central, and super excited about that opportunity. So I love serving from Maine, and I've worked there for about 25 years. And so really excited to serve at the branch level as well, especially at an incredible branch like Kent. Okay, so that said, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start with something simple like our library website. And I think hopefully all of you have been there before, but if you haven't, just know that it's a simple ToledoLibrary.org. You can use your library card and its library card number and 4-digit PIN to access all of our resources, especially our research databases 24/7. But that said, to start off, you can look at all of our locations here. We do have 19 branches and a main library and a mobile services that serves people through bookmobiles, book haulers, and also a mobile technology center. We do have a mail service that mails materials to people back and forth if they can't get out of their homes or apartments, other places that they live. And we also have opportunity to take materials into people's places where they live if you're serving seniors. When you come to the services page, you'll see a business support link here, a grants and nonprofit support link here, and also a welcome TLC support link. I'm going to mostly spend the time on the business support link. And when I click on this area, you're going to see that we're here to help, and we are. We have an incredible collection. We have a lot of databases, some of which would cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars to afford individually or as an institution, and they're here for free. You've paid your taxes, folks, so use these resources. They're free to use, and we're glad to show you how to use them and how to help your customers, your employees, etc. use them. Notice here we have a library resources for small business booklet. We also have that in Spanish and Arabic, and we have the opportunity for you to sign up for our business newsletter, which is fantastic and always chock full of our different resources that we provide, our programming, and the work that we do with our partners. You can also email us directly. Within that, right now we're doing some nonprofit and business assistance sessions at the branches. We do that on Tuesdays, and you can see the schedule here. You can also see the ability for someone to schedule an appointment to get started. So when we talk about self-employment, that could be a side gig or what we call a solopreneur. It could be something where someone has a skill, a craft, or a hobby, and they'd like to create some income and have some interaction with folks to do that. We're super happy to help anyone and where they're at. We have a number of business partners in the community, but sometimes they're already expecting a sophistication when you arrive at their door or in the Zoom meeting. We will meet the client virtually, sort of both, literally and figuratively where they're at. Sometimes we know that the best business or nonprofit to start is none at all. So we certainly want to make sure people have a viable idea and that we can help them understand, is there competition in the community? How are the ways that they can sell their goods or their services? So we work both through the libraries and our resources, but we can't be good librarians unless we know the resources in our community. So we work with a lot of different providers through the community, and we're actually part of a collaborative, and I'll mention that in just a moment. Okay, so within that, want to stop the share for a second because I think to share a different resource, I'm going to need to come out for a moment. And so it'll take me just a second here. Let's see if I can switch over. Can you see a screen that says who to ask? Perfect. Okay. So it does give me that ability, I think, within the share. So I just want to let you know right now that you can email us directly. We're here to help you, or individuals help start or operate a for-profit or nonprofit organization. We have information about ESL, ESOL, language access, and other services for immigrants and refugees. We certainly do help with job and career success. I work a lot with the Toledo Regional Chamber and a woman named Megan Stratovsky. If you've met Megan before, absolutely fantastic. And she's trying to connect employers to employees. For some of you, you know that yesterday was the ribbon cutting for 3737 West Sylvania, where the shared services are now of OMJ, Lucas County, Job Family Services, Child Support, and also coming up next year, Board of Elections. It was a fantastic facility and on the bus line. So great to know that those organizations have come together. In my talks with both Carrie and with Mike Vey from Planning and Development, I certainly think they hope organizations like yours will look for ways to encounter and partner with them and perhaps do some work out of that building so that you can expose people to your resources and services. I have 3 colleagues, Melia Rivas Douglas, who's our Welcome TLC librarian. She helps welcome people into the community who may be immigrants, refugees, or just new to our area. Linda Fairweather, who's our business specialist librarian. Linda has decades of experience, including running the whole state of Delaware's small business program, or what they call the SBDC. And Linda will help individuals determine what type of business they can start and help them build the business plan, and then refer them out to resources that will help them both through the library and the community. Zachary Huber is my colleague who does work with Linda in business, but is also our nonprofit grant specialist. What Zach can do is help nonprofits both find success in starting and becoming a 501c3, but also in expanding their resources and finding grant funding. To that extent, I want to let you know that we are a partner with the Foundation Center, or who's called Candid. Does that come up on the screen okay with Foundation Directory Online? Fantastic. With this, folks, it lists every grant that has been gotten by a nonprofit out there in the United States and beyond. And we can search to find grants for your nonprofit or for a nonprofit you're serving. And so I know we're talking about business resources, but I wanted to let you know in this short amount of time that we have access to help nonprofits. We also have GuideStar. If you're not familiar with GuideStar and GuideStar Pro, it allows you to not only see what nonprofits are out there and compare them to others, including your own, but allows you to update your profile so that you are seen. When you update your profile in there and you make sure all the information is in there, statistically shown that you will receive more donations than you do now. So that's an important area. I mentioned a collaborative we're in. It's called the Toledo Business Growth Collaborative. It's with an organization called Jumpstart that's downtown about 2 blocks from the main library. Within this collaborative, we have a number of providers who can help for-profit businesses, solopreneurs, side giggers, etc., succeed. Notice that we have both the Northwest Ohio Hispanic Chamber and also the Black African American Chambers of Commerce in there, along with the Toledo Regional Chamber, the Minority Business Development Center, which, by the way, allows people to have space. They've moved to the Westwood campus of UT, where Launchpad is. And with that, you can pay a small fee to actually have office space there and access to a lot of resources that you would have as a business owner. Along with that, wanted to let you know that within these resources, you can also find access to minority contracting and to become minority business certified. So if you know folks that are persons of color and would like to qualify to become minority contractors and get contracts that way with government and otherwise, we can help with that. Here's the information about Launchpad at UT. It's a facility at the Nitschke Technology Complex on Westwood. That's part of University of Toledo. And that's where the Minority Business Development Center is. In closing, we have an opportunity through our services pages to help businesses directly through our business support page and to make an appointment with us. And we have the resources both within the library and throughout the community to help that ensure that businesses can have a good start. And the old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And it's really important for businesses to understand exactly what the legal process is and what the business process is to be successful. And I thank you for your time.
Awesome, David. Thank you so much. It's amazing how much our library system has to offer, and for free, right? You know, at a click. Or so we appreciate you sharing all of those, kind of an overview of those resources. And as we've mentioned before, I will be emailing out all of these handouts, links, and contact information. So please watch your emails in the next day or so from me, and please let us know how you want to contact, what your needs are, who you want to follow up with, and so we'll move on from there. Are there questions? I'm sure there's probably a lot rattling around in your heads, bouncing around after all of this information. Is there, something that you would like clarification on, or something that you know off the top of your head that you're going to want follow up on? Or maybe you just need to marinate with some of this for a little bit, and that's okay too. But I wanted to give an opportunity for questions here at the end. Anybody? Okay. Well, I'm impressed with our technical difficulties we still got done ahead of time. So thank you so much to Kelly and David and Jim and Michelle for spending time and preparing this information. I know it'll come in handy. I've learned a lot. I really feel like I just need to go spend, some time on the library website and pour through some of those, click, and see some of the things that I really had no idea about. And providers, thank you. Sarah will be sending certificates of attendance so you can get credit for attending this session. But also, as we said before, we want this to be, whatever you need as far as next steps. And so we will be getting back, circling back with follow-ups and scheduling a part 2 for those who are interested in moving forward with OOD information, waiver. And so if there's nothing else, we'll wrap up for today. Going once, going twice. All right.